Hello students. So our next topic is on forest and wildlife. What is that? Forest and wildlife. Okay. So already about this forest and wildlife we have discussed in our previous topics. These two are two of the important natural resources. Right? Definitely these two are the important natural resources. And definitely in this further topics we'll study what are the different management techniques we need to follow to conserve these forest resources as well as wildlife resources. Okay, before that we should study or we should know some interesting factors and aspects about the forest. So these forests, any forest you can consider, forests are known as biodiversity hotspots. Forests are also known as biodiversity hotspot. Maybe this is a somewhat new term to you, but biodiversity term you have heard in your previous classes, right? So what is meant by biodiversity? Bio is nothing but living. Diversity is nothing but wide variety. So in forest areas, as different varieties of flora and fauna are existing, they are nothing but plants and animals. Flora and fauna are nothing but plants and animals. So wide variety of flora and fauna are existing, and different varieties of species are existing in forest area. They are known as biodiversity hotspots. I hope you all know what is meant by hotspot, right? So forests are site for biodiversity hotspots because wide variety or different varieties of species of flora and fauna are existing in the forest area, so that we call them biodiversity hotspots. Okay, and we all are depending on these forests as a individual or as a consumer, as a public. Definitely we all are depending on forest for many produces, for many purposes we are depending, right? And our purpose will be different from one to one. Maybe I have some other dependency on forest, and you may have some other dependency on forest, but whatever the dependencies may vary, but definitely we all are depending on forest. Okay, so based on that, we people are classified into different categories. So let us see what is that. So that is nothing but forest stakeholders. Forest stakeholders. So who are these forest stakeholders? Maybe you heard this term stakeholders in your social sciences, right? So generally we use this term stakeholders in business. In business terms we use the stakeholder. The stakeholder is nothing but whoever having concern or interest on the particular business is known as stakeholder. Suppose you consider forest as a particular business, okay, or else forest as a particular aspect. So whoever having concern or interest on forest or forest produces, those are known as forest stakeholders. Remember, to be frank, we consumers also comes under forest stakeholders because we also depending on forest, right? So stakeholder or the forest stakeholders are nothing but whoever having concern or interest on forest area are known as forest stakeholders. Okay, definitely these stakeholders, if you see, will be different, depend on their dependencies on the forest. Suppose you see, we all use various forest produces, but our dependency on forest resources definitely vary. Some of us have access to alternatives, some do not have. So have you understood what it means? Definitely. Suppose you see, our dependencies on forest is varying from one to one. Suppose some of your parents are forest department officers, so their dependency on forest is completely different, that they are depending on forest for employment, right? some of your parents are industrialists. Their dependency is completely different. They are depending on forest for forest raw material, right? So like this, even we all are depending on forest products, our dependencies are different. At the same time, some of us are having access to alternatives. Alternative means, suppose some of us are living in the cities. So directly we can't go and we can't get everything from the forest. Because of that, instead of taking direct forest products, we are depending on other products which are available in the shopping malls, right? So we are searching and we are looking for some alternative products which are available in the stores, like grocery stores or stationery stores, or else even the timber stores, or through the industries we are depending. But some do not have the access. Who are not having the access to go and get whatever they want from the stores? Exactly, local people who are staying in the forest area, or the villagers who are staying in the forest area, they don't have the access to buy retailly from the market. So directly they should depend on the forest areas only. Directly from forest, these local people should get. So whatever it is, maybe your dependencies are different, maybe you have some alternatives to get whatever you want except the forest areas. Some of you are not having the access. Directly you should go or enter into the forest, then only you can get whatever you want. Okay, whatever your position, we all are depending on the forest products. So when we consider the conservation of forests, we need to look at the stakeholders who are. First of all, we should understand who are the stakeholders and how the forest stakeholders are classified. Then only we'll understand how well we can conserve the forest and whose contribution is how much in conservation of the forest. Means which stakeholder is contributing how much for the conservation of the forest. Okay, so let us see who are the forest stakeholders. So first forest stakeholder, if you see, the people who live in or around the forest are dependent on forest produce for various aspects of their life. Have you understood who are they? That none other than villagers of the forest area. To the particular forest area, there will be a nearby villages, right? So villagers who are staying in the particular village near to the forest area. At the same time, people who are staying in the forest area, people of the forest, comes under first category. So these are the people live in or around the forest, are dependent on forest produce for various aspects of the life. So which type of aspects they depend? Definitely small quantities only they get from the forest, but for every aspect, for everything, they depend on the forest, right? Like timber, for cooking purpose they depend on the forest, right? Even for some of the leaves, like herbal leaves, also they get from the forest only. Okay, for constructing their houses, small hut like one only they construct. For that they need thatch, like a straw like one, that is thatch they require that one. Even for constructing their huts, they should depend on the forest. So like that, for many purposes these people are depending on the forest. So that is the first category, local people or villagers. Coming to the second category people, if you see, there is nothing but forest department of the government. Forest department of the government. Most of the cases forest department is state government controlled. It's controlled by state government. Okay, which owns the land and controls the resources from forest. So here mutual benefits we can observe clearly. So forest department people or the forest officers, if you see, because of that particular category or particular employment, these people are getting employment from the government because of the forest department. At the same time, these people, forest officers, are giving protection to the resources of the forest. Otherwise, if the forest department is not there, then there is a chance of smuggling, and there is a chance of increasing the tendency of Naxalism. So these all are the ill effects or the disadvantages if the forest department is not working properly. That should not be done means definitely one supervision should be there by the government. That can be done by the forest department. And here forest department also getting benefit because of the forest. That is nothing but employment. Forest department people are getting employment. Okay, like that they are depending. And third category, if you see, they are none other than industrialists, right? So these industrialists, from those who use tendu leaves to make beedis, to one with the paper mills who use various forest producers but are not dependent on the forest in any one area. Actually, industrialist case, if you see, only for the raw material they depend. That too, they don't depend only in the particular area of the forest, and they can be connected to the different forests of the different areas or throughout the India or throughout the particular country. They can be connected because best example, if you see, beedi industry is there. What is given in your textbook, I am discussing that. So beedi industry, I hope you know what is meant by beedi. It's a cigar type one. Further, they use tendu leaves. Okay, so wherever the tendu leaves are available in the particular forest area, or else the forest in the different forest areas also, throughout this particular country, from all the forest areas, tendu leaves can be collected, and this industry can be run based on this raw material, that is tendu leaves. So this case, industry is not depending, or the industrialists are not depending only on the particular area of the forest, but definitely they are depending on the forest. Same way paper case also, many forest parts, from many parts of the forest, they get raw material to the paper industry or to the paper mills. Through that they can run their business, but definitely they are depending on the forests. So these also comes under stakeholder, because they also having concern and interest towards the forest. Okay, and final one, fourth one, if you see, will excite. That is the wildlife and nature enthusiasts. Have you understood the term? Wildlife and nature enthusiasts who want to conserve nature in its pristine form. So they are nothing but natural enthusiasts or natural activists. So they fight for the conservation of the nature. Definitely they don't get any benefit directly from the forest or from the nature, but they create awareness among the people, and they have that awareness and they have the enthusiasm to conserve our forest products. At the same time forest also, because they know that what would happen suppose forests are not there, or what would happen suppose forests are consumed completely, or what would happen suppose forests are not conserved for the future generations. Because of that, definitely these people, wildlife enthusiasts or natural enthusiasts, fight for the conservation of nature without seeking any benefit. Their ultimate benefit, they feel that their ultimate benefit is future generations will be happy and maintains ecological balance forever. Okay, so these four are the forest stakeholders. So first category, if you see, they are the local people or the villagers of the forest. Second category, forest department officers. Third category, industrialists. Fourth category is nothing but nature and wildlife enthusiasts. Okay, so here the stakeholder, once again let me repeat, what is stakeholder? Is a person with an interest in a particular business. So everyone uses forest resources in one form or the other. So the stakeholder of forest resources include all the four. Who are they? Like villagers, forest department officers, industrialists, and the natural activists. Okay, so let us see, or let us have a look at what each of these groups needs or get out of the forest. So among all these four groups, if you see, one by one we will see each group what they need or what they get from the forest. So suppose you see, these are the local people. So their traditional way of dressing you can check. So they belongs to a particular type of forest. Okay, and these local people get benefit of which type of things they get from the forest. What they depend on the forest? Can you guess what are the things they get from the forest? Right. Suppose you say local people need large quantities of firewood. So one of the benefit what they get from the forest is firewood, small timber and thatch. Bamboo is used to make slats for huts and baskets for collecting and storing food material, implements for agriculture, fishing and hunting, and largely made of wood. Also, forests are site for fishing and hunting. Okay, for each and every aspect, for each and every livelihood of their life, definitely they depend on the forest products only. Okay, in addition to the people gathering fruits, nuts and medicines from the forest, the cattle also graze in forest areas or feed on the fodder which is collected from the forest. So along with the benefits what they get directly, some of the benefits, even the cattle or the animals whatever they are domesticated, those animals also get benefit from the forest products. For grazing purpose they use this forest materials. Okay, for feeding purpose they allow their cattle into the forest. Okay, so that is about local people. And coming to forest officers, suppose this you take this symbol, emblem is indicating Kerala forest. So state wise the forest departments are different. This belongs to the Kerala forest, and these forest officers are getting benefit as employment. So monetary terms they are getting benefit, at the same time they are preserving or conserving the forest products. Okay, you can check Kerala officers and forest officers. Okay, and other one, if you see industrialists, this is the industrialists who are depending on the forest products as raw material, like timber. If you see teak or rosewood, whatever that industry they are running, depend on their industry, the type of timber they collect from the forest. At the fourth category, wildlife enthusiasts. Okay, suppose you see local people how they are depending for bamboo, for the purpose of bamboo they depend on the forest products. So bamboo is used to make salts for huts and baskets for collecting and storing food material. So for that sake definitely they are depending. And they collect thatch. Thatch means it's nothing but the straw like one. Suppose you see that material is used to make a roofs of their huts, like this one, this type of material. For this purpose also definitely they are depending on the forest products. Even for their cattle grazing, check this one, local people how they are depending on that. For their cattle grazing also they are depending on the forest products. Okay, so do you think such use of forest resources would lead to the exhaustion of these resources? Have you ever think that forest people, like local people, when they start utilizing all these resources, it would lead to exhaustion of the resources? Definitely not, because local people consume them in very minute quantity. Okay, and remember, before the British came and took over most of our forest area, people had been living in these forests for centuries, and they had developed practices to ensure that the resources were used in a sustainable manner. Have you understood that? Suppose this case you see example, this is done by this thing is done by the industrialists, and this aspect is known as monoculture. This is known as monoculture. Remember, monoculture is nothing but a similar type of crop or similar type of plants can be allowed to grow in the particular area of the forest. Okay. But in case of local people, if you see, local people definitely giving benefits to the forest, because even they are consuming some of the forest products, they are doing some benefits to the forest products. How they are doing and how they are contributing for the well-being of forest, we will see. But you should not think that when local people, when they start utilizing the forest products, it definitely don't lead to the exhaustion of the forest products, because before the Britishers' entry, most of the Indians used to live near the forest area or in the forest area. So that time nothing happened, none of the forest is exhausted. Okay. And they had developed practices. Definitely these local people developed some of the practices to ensure that resources were used in a sustainable manner. Have you understood what is sustainable manner? In a well-being, they used to utilize, and they definitely, these local people had concern about the future generations. Okay. So what happened after the British? After the British took control of the forest, these people were forced to depend on much smaller areas, and the forest resources start becoming overexploited to some extent. So when the overexploitation started, after the entry of the Britishers, the forest department in independent India took over from the British, but local knowledge and local needs continued to be ignored in the management practices. Suppose this is the best example. You see this, what I told you, this is known as monoculture. Check this one. So this is known as monoculture. Monoculture is nothing but some of the industrialists or the industries take lease a particular area of the forest, and they completely eradicate whatever the flora is existing in the particular area, and they allow to grow only a specific type of plants or trees or a crop to grow in the particular area. So that is known as monoculture. Single type of plants can grow in that, because industry definitely depend on this specific type of flora, right? So because of that, what happened, when industrialists eradicate this particular area, that may leads to soil erosion, one thing, and definitely they damage the biodiversity, because already in this particular area wide varieties of plants used to exist, but to grow a single type of plant they have to cut all the plants, so that it leads to disturbance in the biodiversity. Okay. So what happened after independent India, even after Britishers, local people knowledge and their involvement is continuously started ignoring by the government. So government forgot what local people done before the Britishers' entry, and the independent India also started forming separate forest departments, and completely control is given to the government instead of the local people. So because of that, some disadvantages are happened when local people knowledge is ignored. Some disadvantages are happened to the forest products. What happened and how well the forest local people contributed to the forest conservation, we will see. Okay. Forest department in independent India took over from the British, but local knowledge and local needs continued to be ignored in the management practices. Thus, vast tracts of forest have been converted to monoculture of pine, teak or eucalyptus. So this is example of pine and teak and eucalyptus monoculture. Already I told you what is meant by monoculture, right? So in order to plant these trees, huge area are first cleared of all vegetation. This destroys a large amount of biodiversity in the area. Not only this, a varied needs of the local people, leaves for fodder, herbs for medicines, fruits and nuts for food can no longer be met for such forests. Such plantations are useful for the industries to access specific products and are important source of revenue for the forest department. Okay, and do you know many industries are based on forest produce? A short count reveals timber, paper, luck, sports equipment. So such many industries are depending on these forest products. Okay, industries would consider the forest as merely a source of raw material for its factories, and huge interest groups lobby the government for access to these raw materials at artificially low rates. Right or not? Most of the cases, industrialists, if you see, they depend only on the forest product and they don't bother about the conservation of the forest. Once their need is fulfilled and they don't look back or look after for the conservation of the forest, and they leave this type of land, they leave like that and they move away. So because of that, what happened, they sometimes they can convert into barren lands, sometimes they can be converted into barren lands. Okay, since these industries have a greater reach than the local people, they are not interested in the sustainability of the forest in one particular area. Have you understood? As industrialists are affordable, they have greater reach to the forest products than the local people, because industrialists, as they paying money to the forest department, definitely forest department allows the industries or industrialists to enter into the forest rather than the local people. Because of that, sustainability of the forest is ignored by everyone. Okay, example, after cutting down all the teak trees in one area, they will get the teak from the forest farther away. They do not have any stake in ensuring that one particular area should yield an optimal amount of some produce for all generations to come. What do you think will stop the local people in behaving in a similar manner? Right? So once industrialists fulfill their needs, definitely they don't look back about the sustainability of the forest. And there are some instances also there. If you see, there have been enough instances or examples of local people working traditionally for the conservation of forest. So most of the cases, what we think or government think, local people are not beneficial to the forest conservation. Moreover, they are consuming many of the forest products, but that's not correct. Many examples are there that local people working traditionally for conservation of forest. Example, this is the case of Bishnoi community in Rajasthan. I think most of you are familiar with this Rajasthan and Bishnoi community. Even there is a case also happened between the actor Salman Khan and Rajasthan forest area people. They are none other than Bishnoi community. Okay, so Bishnoi community in Rajasthan, for whom conservation of forest and wildlife has been a religious tenet. So they feel that all the plants, animals, whatever there in the forest area as a spiritual thing, and it's completely like a religious tenet to them. They worship nature. Even they can sacrifice their lives for conserving the forest. So this is the Bishnoi community, is the local people community. Remember, Bishnoi community is nothing but local people community in the Rajasthan area, and they sacrificed their lives also for the well-being of the particular forest area. So there is an instance, right? There is an example, local people working traditionally for conservation of forest. Even this happened, the story happened in during 1700s. So what about it? We'll see. What is it? We'll see. Suppose you see their appearance and their dressing indicating some decades back story, right? We'll see what is that. Suppose you see here, Government of India has recently instituted an Amrita Devi Bishnoi National Award for Wildlife Conservation in the memory of Amrita Devi Bishnoi, who in 1731 sacrificed her life along with 363 others for the protection of Kejri trees in Kejrali village near Jodhpur in Rajasthan. So this is the real story what happened by the Bishnoi community, and Amrita Devi Bishnoi is one of the leaders of the Bishnoi community. If you see, she herself sacrificed her life for the conservation of the forest. So what happened during the time? What happened during the time, if you see, check this one. In the year 1731, when one king entered to this particular forest area to cut all the trees and to have stake on the particular area. Okay, he entered into the forest. Which forest that is? Kejrali forest, which is located in the Kejrali village near Jodhpur in Rajasthan. Okay, and why the name is known as Kejrali village? Because most of the Kejri trees were there in that area. Okay, Kejri trees are there in that area. Kejri trees are very sacred trees for these Bishnoi community. So during the time, she herself, Amrita Devi Bishnoi, she fought against with the king, and she herself sacrificed her life. Along with her, even 363 people also fought with this king for conserving of the Kejri trees. Okay, on rewarding her, or on the memory of her, Government of India has recently instituted an Amrita Devi Bishnoi Award for wildlife conservation, and it is a memory of Amrita Devi Bishnoi. Okay, so this is one of the case. Sometimes in exams they ask you where the Amrita Devi Bishnoi case or the story happened. These numbers you should aware of it, thorough with the numbers, numericals. Okay, 1731 it happened. Along with Amrita Devi Bishnoi, 363 people also sacrificed their lives. Okay, so this is the best example how local people working traditionally for the conservation of the forest. Still some other instances also there, examples also there, how local people are involving in the conservation of forest. Second case, if you see, studies have shown that the prejudice against the traditional use of forest areas has no basis. Somewhat difficult to understand to you, right, this sentence? But concentrate, focus on the sentence to understand. Studies have shown that the prejudice against the traditional use of forest areas has no basis. Means prejudicing means punishing by government or punishing legally. So what is punishing legally? For what they are punishing legally? Suppose any people are traditionally using these forest areas, government is punishing them, or without the information or without the permission of government, suppose people are entering into the forest area, local people are entering into the forest area, they should be punishable. But that is not having any basis. That's definitely not having any basis. Means it's indicating that local people should not be punished whenever they utilize the forest products, or traditionally when they are doing any practices in particular forest area. Have you understood what the sentence means? Because sometimes in exam they ask you, they form the sentence, just they give the sentence and they ask you to justify the statement with an instance. So it's nothing but meaning, try to understand. Local people, whenever they are utilizing forest products traditionally, they should not be punishable by the government. Local people, whenever they are utilizing the forest products traditionally, they should not be punished by the government. So best example, there is one of the best examples, there one case and the real what really happened also there. This is about Alpine Meadows, which is located in the Himalayas. Okay, here is an example, check this one. The Great Himalayan National Park contains within its reserved area alpine meadows which were grazed by sheep in summer. So this story, if you see, great Himalayan region, in the great Himalayan region, ancient time, previous time, or the before the independence time, there were the alpine meadows. For every summer, shepherd used to bring their sheep for grazing their sheep in the particular alpine meadows. You know what is alpine meadow and how they look? Let me show what is alpine meadow. Suppose you see, this is the alpine meadows, and meadows means, you know, grasslands. These are the grasslands. Okay, so during every summer, shepherd from the hilly areas, they used to bring their sheep for grazing this grass. So yearly once, when all the sheep come and graze the grass, what they do? Definitely cattle don't uproot the grass, just they trim the grass, they graze the grass. During the time, it's like a trimming of the grass. And you know, you all are very familiar, in our school also, gardener frequently, monthly once or once for 2 months, frequently they trim the grass. Grass has to be cut. It should not be uprooted, but it should be trimmed. Otherwise what will happen? Newly growing grass don't get enough light or enough sunlight for growing. Old grass anyhow, it can gather on the newly growing grass, and newly growing grass also can't grow because there is no sufficient amount of sunlight. But this case, if you see, whenever the shepherd bring this sheep to this alpine meadows for every summer, for grazing the grass, it's a natural trimming process could happen because of the grazing of the grass by the sheep. And yearly once it is happening, and throughout the year grass is growing healthy way. Okay, this used to happen. But what happened after independence? Check this one. Okay, when this Himalayan area is taken by the government and converted into national park, which was a free forest area, after independence, when it is taken and converted into the national park, government people don't allow all these shepherd, those are the nomadic shepherds, don't allow the nomadic shepherds to grazing their grass. Okay, so what happened that time? Check this. So nomadic shepherds drove their flock up from the valleys every summer. When this national park was formed, this practice was put to an end. So they don't allow the nomadic shepherds to bring their sheep for grazing the grass. Now it is seen that without the regular grazing by sheep, the grass first grows very tall and then falls over, preventing fresh growth. So due to what happened? Fresh growth of the grass has stopped. Fresh growth of the particular grass has stopped. So that led to complete destruction of the alpine meadows. So how beautiful these alpine meadows actually is. But when grass growing and the destruction of the disturbance is created in the growing of the grass, fresh growth of the grass is eradicated or prevented. Because of that, what happened? Completely alpine meadows lost their beauty. Now the meadows were not there. Okay, just the area is there and under control of the government people, and it comes under the Himalayan National Park area, but it lost their beauty. So it's not conserved, right? It's not conserved, right? This is also, check this one, alpine meadows area. Actually present condition picture I didn't upload it, but completely grass is not there here, and they become as a like a meadows without grass. They are not at all grasslands now. So what it is indicating? So already I told you, right? Studies have shown that prejudice against the traditional use of forest areas has no basis. So every time government should not punish the local people or villagers who are using the traditional practices in the particular local forest area, because sometimes these local people practices definitely beneficial to the forest, because grassland also forest, right? You can check here, this is also forest area, a type of forest. So it lost its beauty and it's not conserved, even if the government didn't take care about it. Along with the government is not allowing the local people to involve in that, right? So that is about alpine meadows story. Sometimes in exam they ask you, prejudice against the traditional use of forest areas has no basis, justify the statement by giving an example. That time you can explain this story.